Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Sports Time with me, Claire Pritchard.
And me, Gethin Hughes. We have a very special show lined up for you this week. Firstly, we'll be going to Jack for his view on this weekend's Premiership results.
Then, after that, we'll be welcoming our guests for this week, who will be joining us to discuss not only current events in the sporting world, but also broader questions about the subject, including the effect of sport on society.
After that, we'll be going to our man on the field, Joe, with a spotlight report on an unconventional new up-and-coming sport that may surprise you.
Then we'll be going to Marlena with the weather to let you know how likely it will be that you'll be able to play your sports this week. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling really excited about this show.
You and me both. But first things first, let's go to Jack for his view on last week's football.
Thanks, Gethin and Claire. Now to the Premier League, where, after a close call against Stoke, ending with an arguably undeserved 3-2 victory, Manchester United are finding it difficult to reassert their dominance on the Premier League title. It should be remembered that this time last year they were sitting in second place in the league, only a single point behind leaders Chelsea. United have had better starts to the season, no doubt about it, and Stoke remain in the uncomfortable area just outside the relegation zone for another week. On the other side of the spectrum, Liverpool continue to dominate with a crushing 4-1 victory against mid-table West Brom. An 11th minute strike from Luis Suarez set the tone for the match with some excellent attacking football, resulting in another goal 5 minutes later. Suarez sealed the deal just after half-time, adding his third for a well-deserved hat-trick. West Brom's Morrison managed to score in a brave attempt to drag the game within reach of his side, but a fourth goal from Daniel Sturridge in the 76th minute ensured there was no way back for the Baggies. Looking ahead to next week, and United travel to Fulham in search of only their 5th win of the campaign, whereas Liverpool make the trip to the Emirates looking to bag another 3 points against in-form Arsenal. Good luck, boys, you'll need it.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Now it's my absolute pleasure to welcome our guests this week, Brad, Leanne, Justy and Rachel. It's great to see you guys. Thank you for coming in. We're delighted to have you. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourselves?
I'm Brad. Basically, I love football. I get a bit emotional when I think about it because it chokes me up a bit. But carry on.
Tugs the heartstrings. Yeah.
My name's Leanne. I play professional hurling and Irish dancer.
Brilliant.
Hello, I'm Justy. I love play badminton. Unfortunately, not many people play with me here in Aberystwyth, but still gonna carry on playing it.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm Welsh, obviously, and where I'm from is a very sports-driven community, but I'm not a key sports player myself, but obviously I got the sports environment from home.
Okay then, that's great. Let's go to our first topic of the show then, shall we? How can we build a safer and better communities through sport?
That's a very complex question, Geff. It's a question that brings up many different questions. About society itself.
It really depends on the area that you're in, because it couldn't if kids are growing up in an area which there are drugs or anything like that around, sport can help them keep away from the bad.
Absolutely, yeah.
Areas of the thing, and also gives them competitive drive and the drive to do something more positive than negative.
So not only does it drive their sporting lives, it can also help to encourage them to do things elsewhere.
Yeah, just put all their energies into something positive rather than
rather
negative.
than something negative, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely right. I mean, there's many kids that, I knew growing up that, didn't have the opportunities or, whether it was financial, the opportunities in an accessible place to do sport. And they end up doing, things that, unspeakable, to be honest. So, it's definitely a good outlet. Do you know what I mean?
It's important to have somewhere they can go, they feel that they can wear off some energy, still hang around with their friends, but, it's turning their time into something constructive as opposed to wasting it.
Playing sport, sure, is the #1 prescription for people with anger management and everything.
Is it?
Especially for a lot of boxers suffer from anger management. But,
I'm surprised, to be honest with you. Okay. Right then, do you want to take the next question?
Okay. Well, Gary Lineker has spoken out about this week how he feels about parents are damaging Britain's youth by being too harsh on the sidelines. Do you think parents can deter young people from playing to their full potential?
I mean, I used to play grassroots football when I was little, and some of the parents you see, they're ridiculous. They're on the pitch screaming at the kids, "Pass the ball, pass the ball!" That was Billy. What are you doing? You just think to yourself, wait a sec, mate. He's 10. Do you know what I mean? What are you doing to his psychological, disposition right now when you're telling him that he's rubbish?
Yeah. So you think when the parents, even if they may have the best of intentions, by being too aggressive towards their children, they're sort of not helping in any way.
It can go either way. They can either nurture their child or it's like basically forcing their child to do better because the parent could be basically living out their own
Dream.
objective on the child themselves.
That's what I wanted to say. I want to say, you know, the kids are almost like an extension of them.
Yeah.
Like if they failed at something in their lives growing up and they want their child to do better,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of like a really aggressive thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's also to note though, that like parents put a lot into the matches as well as the kids. I know obviously the kids are the people that I go into, but parents take the time out as well, obviously, to take the kids to the football matches and all that, buying them the kit and everything.
So
The
you
sense
feel
of pride
because they put the effort in, they want to reap the rewards.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And it's like, I got younger cousins and I go watch it and I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say it, but I am one of them screaming at the sideline. Because you just like, you feel like you're pushing them. But then afterwards you are kind of taking a step back thinking to yourself, oh.
Well, that's great. Thank
We're
you
going
for
to have
that.
to move on here,
Yeah.
I'm afraid. How can we make participating in sport fun for all? You know, because some people feel that they don't fit in with certain sports, or they feel a bit scared of turning up to new groups. How can we make it so that people aren't intimidated?
Well, I mean, there's a plethora of different sports, you know what I mean? There's also, well, you know, we've been talking about Quidditch. I don't know if you're going to bring it up later on in the show. But, you know, I mean, that's a sport there for Harry Potter fans, you know, so I mean...
Yeah,
the amount
it's not
of
even a real sport, is
Yeah.
it? It's been created in a
made-up
book
sport,
and now
yeah.
it's been...
But then all sports are made up sports, really.
Yeah, like extreme frisbee. That's not a sport, but it's it literally
If there's
so
enough
much fun
people
to
that
do.
want to play it, then...
Yeah.
What qualifies as a sport?
Exactly. Shopping could be a sport for all I care.
Supermarket sweep. that's
Supermarket
So do you think that's the way to make it accessible to everyone, by making these sports that different people want to play as opposed to forcing them to play football or rugby or something?
Yeah.
I think the key is to show people what's available, you know, to show them what's available to them and, you know, give it a try, do you know what I mean? Just, you know, show them what's there.
As long as we're getting physical exercise, there shouldn't be a criteria. As long as they're keeping fit, keeping healthy, you
Yeah, it
know,
doesn't
let
matter
them do what they
sport
want to
it is,
do.
yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Brilliant. Some very interesting points raised, but now it's time to go to Joe, our man in the field, for this week's special report.
When you look at the humble broomstick, the first thing that comes to mind may not be sporting activity. However, this simple item found in virtually every household in the country is quickly
quick.
becoming
I think
part
that's
of a
too quick,
phenomenon that is
but-
sweeping the nation.
At
Quidditch.
least we weren't too long.
The sport has slowly been filtering into the mainstream ever since it was brought to the public eye in the popular book and film franchise Harry Potter. In J.K. Rowling's stories, it is played by witches and wizards high in the air on the back of flying broomsticks. Though the more magical elements of the sport do not translate to this so-called Muggle version, the basic principles remain the same and will be instantly recognisable to fans of the Potter universe.
Quidditch is easy enough to understand. Each team has 7 players, 3 chasers, 2 beaters, 1 keeper, and the seeker. That's you. There are 3 kinds of balls. This one's called the quaffle. Now the chasers handle the quaffle and try to put it through one of those 3 hoops.
Each team consists of 7 players. 3 chasers who serve as the primary goal scorers by putting the quaffle through the opposing team's hoops. 2 beaters who are unique in their ability to pick up and manipulate the 3 bludgers, slightly deflated dodgeballs that can be used to temporarily remove opposing players from the game. The keeper, as the same in most sports, acts as the defender of the goal hoops. Finally, there is the seeker, whose sole purpose is to catch the golden snitch. Muggle players of the sport still use brooms, in this case acting as a sort of handicap to gameplay, much the same way as a basketball player is only allowed to dribble single-handedly. This assists in retaining the authenticity of the sport, as well as increasing the difficulty and tactical awareness necessary to win games. Speaking of authenticity, in order to stay as faithful to the sport as it appears in the beloved franchise, the balls that would be magically animated in the fictional version have been replaced with more practical substitutes. In addition to the already mentioned replacement of the bludgers with deflated dodgeballs, the iconic golden snitch, in the series described as a walnut-sized ball with wings, is replaced with a tennis ball contained within a sock and tucked into the back of the trousers of a so-called snitch runner, whose job is to avoid the seekers and stop them obtaining the snitch at all costs. As in the wizard version of the sport, the capture of the snitch still ends the match, though the 150 points gained by the victorious Seeker in the books has been reduced to a more balanced 30 for the purposes of the Muggle game. Already, there are independent teams and leagues around not only the country but across the world, and a widely publicised Quidditch World Cup where the best teams in the world compete for glory in what is quickly becoming a sport for the new generation. Many British universities already boast Quidditch societies and teams, including Aberystwyth's own group, the Marauders. It is only a matter of time before this exciting new sport becomes part of the already famous sporting rivalry between Aberystwyth and their rivals from the north, Bangor. So next time you find yourself walking around the park, make sure to keep an eye on the skies, or you may find yourself on the wrong side of a stray bludger, or even perhaps something stranger.
Interesting. I didn't know it would become a real sport. It actually looks quite fun.
Yeah, it's almost enough to make you want to play. But I think we need clearer skies here in Aberystwyth for some Quidditch, especially with the weather we've been having this week. So now it's time to go to Marlena for the weather report.
Thanks, guys. Well, I'm afraid I have to be the bearer of bad news. The hurricane force winds of the weekend are here to stay. It's also getting colder, reaching lows of 10 degrees Celsius overnight, and on the gradual decline for... However, things are looking a bit better next weekend, so we may be looking at small recovery before winter starts to set in. It might be best not to schedule any ball games outside, especially in the next few days, as the severe weather warning is still in effect. But hopefully the cold front will pass soon with the high winds blowing in from the Irish Sea and make way for a milder November. That's the weather forecast. Thank you and see you next week.
Yeah, look, it's not snowing yet.
Going up that hill.
Oh, don't even joke. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for this week. We'd like to thank Jack, Marlena, Joe and our guests for a great show and hope to see you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
If you have any comments you wish to make about our show, or if you've been affected by any of the things we discussed, or if you have any questions for us, don't forget you can get in touch with us on our email deathandclear@sportstime.co.uk, or you can like us on our Facebook at facebook.com/sportstime. You can also keep up to date with what's happening in the studio by following our Twitter at twitter.com/sportstime, or if you'd rather stick to phone calls, you can call the studio at 0800 776 787. Calls are free from landlines, though you should be aware that there may be charges for viewers calling from mobile phones.